What do you think this is all about? What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life. This is a way of life.
Hey Ballbusters, Bates here with your friend and mine, Ray Mungus. We are returning to Haddonfield on episode 12 of Way of Life Live. How you doing tonight? Where is my partner? Am I not in? He has left me. I don't know where he went, but he has left me. Hey, you there?
Hey.
Where'd you go? You left me. You left me high and dry.
Off to a good start. I saw you talking on the video, and I didn't hear anything. And then Discord decided it was going to take its sweet-ass time to reload.
Well,
Try that again?
Yeah, it's not an episode unless something goes wrong.
Of course. And the funny thing about that was, I told you to update your Discord, and then mine acts up.
You know what? I knew something was going to go wrong tonight when I forgot to light my Yankee candle earlier.
Yeah, it's like a bad omen.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But, hiccup aside, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Sitting there, hanging out, drinking some tea, ready to talk some geek shit. How are you?
Did you just say drinking some tea?
Yeah, of course. I like tea.
You know, we got an image here.
No, we have an image on the other podcast. Not here. I drink tea here, and I'm in a robe.
We have an image here. I don't care what you say. Listen, I like my tea. I'm a green tea fanatic. I have like 7 different kinds of green tea at my desk at work, and I rotate them every day. So, you know what? Go for it. I love tea, but this is beer time, not tea time.
I only have 1 beer, and that's a tragedy.
You know, I bought 2 beers, 2 tall boys at Costco the other day, and I wanted to drink them. But I think I'm actually going to keep them as the beer of the episode for next month.
Oh, right on. That's a pretty good idea. Hopefully we'll have a little variety next month, which would be pretty good. I think we had a pretty good variety last month. Well, last weekend.
Yes. Which kind of is a perfect segue into our first bit of news. Now, it's not technically horror news, but it's news on the channel front, and for anybody who likes what we do here on Wednesday nights, then they'll be happy to hear what is in the pipeline. So, the original idea for this channel has finally come to fruition. We all finally managed, there's 4 of us, mind you, we all finally managed to get together, get our equipment together, sit down for many, many hours, and finally record some episodes of MBH.
Yeah, that was exciting. I mean, for a group that used to hang out for no particular reason for hours on end all the time, it was quite a challenge to get all 4 of us together in the same room.
Seriously, you would think we were trying to pull together the Manhattan Project or something.
Yeah, exactly. That, like, I can understand if we all lived out of state or we had some sort of like ridiculous commute, like we'd have to take the subway or something. But we had no excuse. We just drug our feet quite a bit, and I think it paid off in the long run. You know, I think the slow bake really got us motivated and inspired to put together a really awesome show, and it showed in what we ended up doing.
So, what you might be asking yourself is, so, you know, you guys already have a podcast you do here every Wednesday night. What are you releasing? What is MBH? Well, MBH is actually another podcast that is part of Way of Life. MBH stands for Metal Beer Horror, and it was an idea and way of life that this channel, it was a way of life and something that our friend had started, who this channel is in dedication to. Basically, MBH is just kind of the evolution of what he started. And I don't know if he would have ever wanted to do it the way we're doing it, but we're trying to carry it on in the way we think he would appreciate. And I think we're staying pretty true to what he was trying to do with it. We've obviously changed things up and elevated it a bit, being on a completely different format from where it had started. It had started as simply a website, almost like a part review, part rant blog of a website. But that's what that's what Chris did. And trust me, we get into reviews and we get into rants. So we're keeping that part of his legacy alive.
Yeah, one thing that was interesting, we were going through some of Chris's old website rants and his FAQs and things like that. And one thing that was interesting was he started these webzines as a platform to basically express the sort of things that he wasn't finding in websites or magazines or anything like that. He wanted a platform to basically just be able to go out and say, like this guy that cut me off in the middle of traffic, he pissed me off, and if I see him again, I'm going to run him down with a car. Or he'd use the platform to talk about the latest kick-ass Municipal Waste record or Testament album, or, how much he liked Pieces or Maniac. He would just pretty much take any of the stuff that he was very passionate about, and he would just write about it under the banner Metal Beer Horror. And as Bates said, we're basically trying to take what he started and bring it into a new sort of era, and all the while basically tributing everything that he stood for, everything that formed his way of life.
So, what exactly the show is, what is the format, you might be asking? We do a lot of talking about horror here. Are we going to talk more horror on MBH? Yes, but to a lesser degree. Basically, we're still working out the official format, but we have a format in place right now that we kind of like. And I see us tweaking it here and tweaking it there, but for the most part, I feel like what we have recorded 2 episodes, and I feel like what we have so far is going to work for the most part. We do a kind of a beer salute, and we're going to try to pick a different beer every episode, and kind of just discuss it and review it. Basically, the beer is just a beer review.
It's like a heavy metal wine tasting, but with beer.
That's a great way of putting it. And we don't spit the wine out, or the beer out. We
drink it as much as we can.
Then horror. We usually are going. I think we were regulating horror to about 2 topics per episode. 2 discussion topics, not quite related to anything newsworthy or anything that had broken in news in the last couple of weeks, but one might be. So we don't feel like we're rehashing anything we've already talked about here.
Yeah, it's less news, more themed based. Like we really want to take topics that just appeal to the 4 of us, and kind of dive in on them, whether they be like fan casting or some sort of speculative type of segment. We want to do it less like this show and more of a sort of a roundtable discussion on topics.
And then the metal aspect of the show is actually going to make up the bulk of the show. If beer and horror took up 50%, I would say metal takes up the other 50% of this podcast. And on metal, we will discuss any news that has broken, album reviews, tour news for any bands that are touring or anything coming in the area, and local artist highlights, where we will sample songs from local artists from the area, and the area being anywhere in New Jersey and New York, some of which our co-host knows and some of which we don't know very well. So it's a way to get some of this local music out there on a different medium.
On top of that, we're going to hopefully be looking into people submitting things that they want played on our show. You know, like, we're very open to the idea of supporting underground no matter where it is. You know, back in the 80s and 90s, you didn't have this sort of platform to do this on. Now with the internet, you know, pretty much opening up all of us to, like, us being in a backyard of sorts, or neighbors with one another, we're able to, you know, sample things from different places. So if there's anybody that's interested in submitting something to be included on the show, like, we're going to open up submissions and kind of put whatever we can out there that we dig.
Yep. And basically this covers anything metal, obviously, hard rock, or anything just kind of, I would even say, sort of like artsy, horror-esque. Think John Carpenter stuff or Goblin stuff. Anything that you would see in the 70s, or anything you would hear, rather, in like a 70s Italian exploitation horror film. If you make that kind of music, we want to listen to it. Like,
oh, without a doubt.
Think Fabio Fabrizzi.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, and our horizons over the years have expanded significantly. You know, like, we listen to all types of music and could appreciate anything that gets put out there. I'm a huge punk rock guy, so, like, you know, there's no way I'm not going to do this show without diving a little bit into the punk side of things. So, you know, just anything that we might dig that falls in that kind of realm, you know, like, we'd be open to checking out.
So, as I said, we have 2 episodes recorded. I still need to edit both episodes. Now, I am not expecting the sound quality to be top-notch, but again, this is going to be a, you know, first-time podcast for us, like a real-style podcast. I'm not talking headset mic like what we're wearing, right? Like what I'm wearing right now. I'm talking, this is actually a mixer, XLR mics. But I do have a lot of tweaking to do moving forward, so I do not expect the sound quality to be great, but it will be more than worthy for a newbie podcast.
Yeah, just like this particular live podcast, like, we've grown significantly over the last 12 weeks, so I can only imagine that every time we get together and to record new episodes of Metal Beer Horror, we're going to be, you know, just getting a little bit better each outing.
Yep, exactly. We have 2 episodes. We are looking to keep them neatly trimmed at about 90 minutes a pop. Some will go a little over, some will go a little under, depending on how we're feeling that particular episode. As far as releases are concerned, we are tentatively looking at 2 releases a month, 2 episodes a month. Either on the 1st and 15th or the 15th and the 30th, which, honestly, it's the same fucking thing in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that is what we're looking at. We're looking at about releasing an episode every 2 weeks, with the first episode coming, as long as I get the editing done, at the end of this month, but if not, it will come next month. I don't want to make any promises yet, because what we would like to do is actually record a couple more episodes to have some stuff already waiting to be released, so we're not rushing and struggling. Basically, what we want to do is we want to get on a schedule and then give ourselves enough backup that we can always stay on that schedule. Like if there comes a point where maybe one month we can't get together for a recording when we normally do, and we got to push it back a week or two, it's not a big deal because we got a couple episodes waiting in the can. So that is basically how we're hoping this release schedule to work out.
And if worse comes to worse, and we have a situation where we back ourselves into a corner in a very bad way, me and Bates here could always jump on and do a MBH episode remotely. Both the other guys have Discord, so we could, even if we come on for a week, come on online and do like a short update episode to let you guys know that we haven't died or anything like that. We're gonna make sure that the schedule is followed one way or another.
Yeah, we're gonna try our best. I mean, right now we've got a lot of shit that we're planning.
Like one thing that I will say though is, like in the very beginning when we started doing the Way of Life Live, we were very, I guess, timid about the release schedule. Like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna do it every week. Like maybe we'll do it this and that. And here we are, 12 weeks in, and we're still going strong. We're talking other shows, other podcasts, all sorts of things like that, and have 2 in the bank for this new one. So I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, it is definitely exhausting. At least very exhausting for me. I know it's exhausting for Mungus. Basically, he puts together the show every week. We discuss a part of it, and then he does our itinerary. And he writes that up for us every week. And then he does the editing for this podcast after it ends, and then re-uploads it.
And then all the good social media stuff mixed with the dead entertainment work that I do. It's like, I wish we had some sort of fund. You know what I mean? Like I want to start getting, like if I have enough money to like live, I could do this for the rest of my life, like easily without blinking an eye. But unfortunately, bills have to get paid, and that's how that goes.
Then, obviously I run this this podcast. I set up all the live stuff, and I manage all of that. I also do writing with Ray for Dead Entertainment. We do that stuff. I manage that web channel right now on YouTube, even though we only have one thing up there. We should change. Yeah, I was about to say we should have news about some other stuff coming up on there soon.
I could announce one thing right now. I have gone through some of my personal files, and I have roughly 30 minutes of Goblin concert footage that I'm going to be uploading to the channel for some concept, for some content.
There you go. We should have news on the next live commentary for DeadEntertainment.com pretty soon. We're still working on some stuff. We're just being lazy about it, but we should have that pretty soon.
I think we should talk about that tomorrow, because like we've been talking about that for a couple weeks, and I think we're due for a movie night. Yeah,
I agree. Then there is we're gonna actually segue into our next topic with this. We have Monster Mania, a convention we talk about every single episode. It is basically, this Monster Mania in March is growing and growing, and it's turning into one of the biggest shows we have ever gone to. Now, I've been going to conventions for 15 years now. Ray has been going for
long time.
Yeah,
I calculated out.
I would say almost as long as I have, maybe just as long.
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah, because your first convention was the Fangoria Weekend of Horrors, and I had been to 2 or 3 prior to that.
Yep.
So,
and hilariously enough, we didn't know each other at the time, and we probably were walking right by each other.
So, I've been to a lot of conventions. Mungus has been to a lot of conventions. The convention we are going to in March, again, it's run by our buddy Dave. We know him for years now. We've been going to the convention he's been going since like number 3. I've been going since like number 5 or 6.
Yeah, mine was 2 actually.
2, even better. Look at that. That was the first one at the Crown Plaza.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we've been to big conventions before, but in terms of what they're putting together for this convention, it is the biggest we've ever been to. So we decided that we're going to do a lot of footage, a lot of recording, a lot of just coverage, both for this channel and Dead Entertainment. And I have decided on how I'm actually going to split this up. So for this particular channel, I am going to do, Ray and I are going to do basically kind of vlogs of the show floor, of the vendor rooms and the guest rooms, as much as we can, because we have to abide by their rules when it comes to openly recording in the guest areas. So I don't know what we're going to be able to do there, but for the most part, the vendor rooms, we're probably going to try to do some live on-the-spot interviews with fans, people in costume, and some of the vendors. Then on the other end of it, for DenEntertainment.com, I am going to be recording all of the panels like I did for the last convention, but the quality should be a bit better because I have a brand new Rode microphone for my camera. So I will be recording all the panels, which there should be some amazing panels this year, and I will be uploading all of those for Dead Entertainment. So that's how that breakdown is going to be.
Yeah, and if there's any interviews or anything like that, we're going to figure out, where it goes. You guys are going to be the first to know, like once we get going on the podcast and on, via the website, social media, and everything. One thing I'd like to do is kind of like do what we normally do at night. Go check out like the Monster Mania After Dark. Once the convention's over, everybody kind of hangs out in front of the hotel. Everybody just hangs out, drinks, smokes, does whatever they do out front, and it's pretty interesting because you don't know anybody. Like you might have some people that you recognize and such, but it's such an interesting vibe and open community. Like you could just kind of walk up to any group and start talking to fans and things like that. So I think it'd be really cool to talk to a lot of the people out there and get them on film and things like that. Another couple things that we want to do is possibly even do a episode of Way of Life Live while we're down there. Just Bates and I, jumping on YouTube Live and doing it like we usually do it, except in person.
Yeah, it's something we're working on. No promises, but we'll see how that goes. So to jump into Monster Mania news, we have gotten a bunch more guest announcements. And there's actually going to be another guest announcement tomorrow and possibly one more on Friday.
Really? I didn't know they were going to be doing some more for this week.
Yep.
You would think that they'd be all out.
Apparently not. So, since the last episode where we talked about Tim Curry being announced and added, he will have pre-signed autographs. He will also have an item drop-off where you can drop off your items and he will sign them at his own leisure. He will be doing photo ops both on Friday and Saturday. I think Friday for 4 hours and Saturday for 6 hours. So since that giant bombshell was dropped on us last week, we have gotten a couple more guest announcements. The first one is the another in costume. I always say in costume photo op, and that would be Mr. Tom Morga. If you don't know who Tom Morga is, Tom Morga played the character of Roy from Friday the 13th Part 5, and who was the fake Jason. So this is another Jason in costume doing a photo op. As of right now, we have every living actor who played Jason in costume doing the photo op except for Derek Mears.
Is Kurzinger added?
Yep, Kurzinger's there.
So it's just a matter of time before Derek Mears gets added. If not, I'm going to hound Dave on Twitter because you can't leave the happiest, nicest guy in the world out of something like this.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, never has a convention done this before, as far as I know.
Yeah, we need to get our ticket for that photo op because this is something that I really don't want to miss.
I don't know if the tickets for the photo ops have gone on sale yet, but I will be ordering my pre-show weekend pass hopefully tomorrow if I remember, because they might actually have like a cutoff. I hear like tickets are selling pretty crazy right now. Their vendor tables are all gone. They're out of vendor tables already.
Yeah, that usually comes a little bit later, so I'm very impressed by the turnout in that regard. But I'm not surprised at this point with these guest announcements coming the way they are. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they cap it off entirely eventually.
Yeah. So I will hopefully be ordering my pre-show ticket, and I would suggest doing the same when you can.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, Mr. Tom Morga was not the only announcement they made. They have also added Mr. Richard Dreyfuss.
He's been at one of the conventions before, if I recall correctly.
I think so.
I think once.
I think it's just been a little while, and I don't remember meeting him. But I mean, this is one of the acting world's best, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, his performance in Jaws alone, it's monumental.
Jaws, Stand By Me, Mr. Holland's Opus,
Piranha.
Yeah, he was in Piranha.
Which is one of my favorite cameos, by the way.
This guy's done everything. He's I think he's a headlining guest by himself, and we already have 3 other headlining guests right now, so it's crazy. So that wasn't the only announcement they made. They also added the Kyoto Brothers, which is really rounding out this Killer Clowns from Outer Space reunion. Very, very nice. On top of the Kyoto Brothers, we also got star of The Goonies and Lord of the Rings, Mr. Sean Astin. Which is awesome considering his role in season 2 of Stranger Things. It just seemed like a really great time to pull in him for a convention right now.
I completely agree, especially with the internet and pretty much all of Stranger Things fandom reacting to the character of Bob the way they did. He's almost like season 2's Barb, except he's worthwhile of the title. Exactly.
So, also announced is from Your Next, Sharni Vinson. I'm not very familiar with her body of work. Are you?
Not offhand. I've just seen him in Your Next, and she's not bad.
And the final guest announcement they have made is Serial Mom's own Kathleen Turner, which I thought was a really cool addition.
Like, I gotta say, this convention is turning into probably one of the best out there. Like, it's like, I know we said that in the beginning of this, but while we're sitting there going through the names, I'm thinking to myself, like, what other convention has even come close to this aside from Comic-Con?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't think of like how many more people they can get to just sort of top what they're doing. Like, what's going to happen? The next convention we go to is just going to be like, we're going
to have to retire after this one, I think.
This is not good.
But you know what? As I said last episode, every recent Monster Mania, I've said to myself, wow, I don't know how Dave's going to top himself. And then he does. And in this particular case, it's through the friggin' roof.
Yeah, but Kathleen Turner was definitely a really nice addition. She's been around for quite a while. I think she voiced Jessica Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, exactly.
She had.
I looked at her IMDb page alone. I was familiar with some of her roles, but good lord, she has been around when it comes to the industry. She has worked in all sorts of films.
She Romancing the Stone. That's a very popular movie. She was a reoccurring character on the show Friends. She was Chandler's father, drag queen father. But
that's an interesting one.
Yeah. So it's definitely cool. I've always been a fan of hers, and I never thought she would ever be at a convention, but here we are.
Yeah, pretty much. I've said that about countless guests that Monster Mania has put out there, where you grew up watching these people on the big screen, and you're like, oh, okay, even the small screen for that matter. Yeah, okay. You're like, okay, you're never going to have a chance to meet any of these people, or even think that the possibility is opened, and then boom, Dave adds them one after another, con after con.
Yeah, so I can't imagine who he's going to announce tomorrow. There's definitely at least one more announcement coming this week, so
I'm thinking it's probably going to be a little bit less. I honestly thought the main acts were done, and then he went and added Sean Astin and Richard Dreyfuss. And, I'd like to say the next ones are going to be smaller guest announcements, but who knows?
So with those couple of guest announcements, we also lost a few people. Guests do drop out of these shows. It happens. Mostly because of filming obligations and, their schedules just conflict. So we lost Andrew McCarthy of Weekend of Bernie fame. And Stranger Things, Sadie Sink.
The good thing about Andrew McCarthy is he pushed his appearance to the August convention, so it's not a complete loss. He's just not going to be at the March one.
So, yep. So with all the good news, of course, comes a little bit of sad news. But as I said, this happens at every convention. I would not be surprised if a couple of people on the guest list right now don't drop out. I won't. I hope they don't, but I wouldn't be surprised if one or two do.
Yeah, and it's not maliciously either. It's these people have to work too, and when it comes to filming obligation versus a autograph appearance, you have to weigh your options. Pretty
much. So that's what we got for you on the Monster Mania front. So moving on, I believe it was actually earlier today, Twisted Pictures is sort of teasing a 9th Saw film.
Well, Twisted Pictures isn't teasing it, but Brad Miska of Bloody Disgusting has been hearing rumors going around that early talks are happening at the moment for the sequel. Nothing's confirmed yet, but it is according to his sources, they're going to be moving ahead with it.
The last one made money, and it's obviously the franchise still has life. So
yeah, as far as people that are going to see it, yes, it does, and I think this one particular was more of a curiosity thing. Saw's been kind of dormant for a little bit, and it made its way back. So people were, understandably curious of where the series was going to go. But from what I understand, it's not exactly well received.
Um, no, it just didn't look good. I read a lot about it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to end up seeing it. But I got excited for it. Then I read some reviews and I read how the movie was playing out, and I was just very let down. So I couldn't bring myself to go see it in theaters. I will be seeing it soon.
Yeah, I think I'm a completist when it comes to my collection, so I think I'm going to be adding it to my collection. Once I get it, I might review it for the website.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't be surprised if, an announcement is made in the coming weeks, because they're going to want to get it out for next Halloween, so they're going to want to start filming it as soon as possible. So, we'll see what happens. Do I want another sequel for this franchise? No, not particularly. I wouldn't mind if they actually rebooted the series and kind of took things in a little bit of a different direction. Unless they really amp it up this way on this sequel, I can't see this really surviving much longer.
Yeah, it's really tough to even consider at this point, because some of these movies kind of like go on and overstay their welcomes, and they reach the point where they're just, they're desperate.
Yeah, pretty much just grasping at straws to keep this thing alive. And as I said, obviously it worked for this sequel. I think the sequel needed to make $40 million to break even, and it made over $100 million. So, movie did good. Definitely did good. Made some good money.
Yeah, definitely. Creatively, though, who knows where the series is going to be going?
Sorry, just had to sneeze.
Weirdly enough, me too.
So yeah, I guess as I said, we should be getting an announcement in a few weeks. So it's really all we got on that one.
Yeah, I wrote an article for it today on Dead Entertainment, and one point that I decided to make was, the series is in desperate need of some sort of twist, some sort of reboot or re-envisioning or something along those lines. And, a thing that appeared to me in my mind was the fact that they did that. They did exactly that. They took they took the films into this crazy direction, except they did it 12 years ago. 12 years too soon with Darren Lynn Bousman's Saw 3. And I think had they waited to kill off, spoiler alert, John Kramer, Jigsaw, in a later film, I think it would have opened up the territory, to territory that we're unfamiliar with and we haven't necessarily explored, and it would keep the first series a little bit more fresh than it is. I think jumping the shark that soon in the series really did the entire film's disservice, and now they're as they're approaching their ninth film. It gets to the point where you're like, okay, well, what can you do now? Like, there's very few options at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe they got something crazy up their sleeves for the next one, but I won't hold my breath.
I just want to get contact information so we could send them your idea, because I think that's pretty much the only way to breathe life into the series, given the current lore. Aside from completely cleaning the slate and starting fresh, a new story within this world, I don't think they could really do much else with it unless they approach it from the way that you had suggested to me.
Well, obviously good ideas aren't what Hollywood wants, so what can I say?
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on, so there are rumors and inklings and hints and all kinds of funky things going on with Capcom right now that is leading a lot of people to believe that there's going to be some type of Resident Evil 2 remake announcement.
And given the fact that they've already remade the first game, it seems completely plausible. And since the announcement of the first game's Since the announcement of the first game's remake and everything like that, we were in a position where the fans were hungry. They were extremely hungry for an all-time classic like Resident Evil 2 to be remade, and to generally bring back the games that we grew up on and breathe life into the series once more, and be able to walk down memory lane via a high definition, completely restored sort of game. According to deadentertainment.com, cheap plug, it seems like they are working. They're working up. They're basically working up to announce Resident Evil 2 based off of some of the hints that are on the official Biohazard's Twitter account. There's some header images that seem to hint that they're going to be putting a piece of artwork in place.
I think that's like the biggest hint is that opening on the posters that they have, that little blank spot they have.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, and it's no secret that it was being, it was being hinted at for many years since the first one.
When they finally announced this, I was so excited. I mean, Resident Evil 2 was always my favorite of the series. It's probably my second favorite of the series. I'm actually a very big Code Veronica fan. But I
didn't play that one.
Oh, it's a great one. Very underrated. But I know Resident Evil 2 is a favorite of almost every other fan, and it is one of my favorites. I played the fuck out of that game. So when they finally announced this, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like it was about time. We got the amazing GameCube remake of the original, and then they remastered that and made it even better, and it was finally about time that they did it for Part 2.
Yeah, I remember getting Part 2 for the first time, and just sitting there in the dark playing it, and in the very, I think it's like in the very beginning of the game when you go down that hallway and you see the liquor running past the window, like, you just put your controller down for a second, you're like, I'm not going in that door. That's it. The game's over right here in this hallway, 5 minutes into the game.
When I was a kid and I first got Resident Evil, the first one, back in, I guess it was 1996 when it came out, I would actively try to avoid the one hallway where the dogs jump through the windows because it used to scare me so bad.
Oh yeah, definitely. Or when the crows are picking that one guy apart on the balcony.
Oh yeah, Forrest.
Forget his name for a second there.
No, the crows didn't bother me so bad. It was those dogs jumping through the windows, man. That got me every time.
I agree. That initial hallway, again, a hallway thing. In the first one, when you see the zombie for the first time, at that point in my life, like, I was the only horror game that I had played was like Friday the 13th for Nintendo, and that wasn't very scary. So Resident Evil opened up kind of like a world of possibilities for horror in video games that I at that point I didn't even know existed, because I grew up with like the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and when I first got my feet wet with PlayStation and saw Resident Evil for what it was, that was it. The lid was off.
Yeah, it really introduced a whole generation into horror, whether it be in video games or just in general. It really opened the door, and what they're doing with the series right now, I'm not a fan of, but I'm willing not to. I'm not gonna fucking throw in my Capcom card because I don't like the way they're taking this franchise. They're giving
I'm really surprised that you're not into the direction of Part 7.
No, they obviously they started to lose their way in Part 4. Now Part 4 is obviously a really fun, really good game, but that was when they started, veering off the path, and Part 5 and Part 6 just made that even worse. And then they tried to course correct with Part 7, and in my personal opinion, I think they failed. Now, I don't think Part 7, again, is particularly a bad game, like Part 4. But it's not what I want from Resident Evil. So it's kind of a love-hate thing.
See, I'm the exact opposite when it comes to Part 4. By Part 4, I pretty much thought the Resident Evil series had way overstayed its welcome. The tired, clunky game mechanics from the previous games, like the side games that they came out with, Outbreak, Resident Evil 0, things like that. I felt like they were just completely overdone. And they weren't adding anything new to the games that really warranted me spending 15 hours playing the same old tired game. Resident Evil 4 hit, and it added this kind of heart-racing element that I've never really experienced since the first two games. So I thought Part 4 was good, a really solid game, until the little weird pirate person. I don't know what he was. He looked like he was supposed to be on a ship or something.
No, he was like this. What was his name? Salazar?
Yeah, Salazar. Like that really threw me off a little bit. Part 5 felt like they tried to make a Resident Evil Call of Duty map type of game, and it just fell apart, and I never played Part 6. Part 7, however, gives me this, I can't play Part 7 because I get motion sickness, unfortunately, but the vibe of the game seems like another game changer to me, Part 4. So, it kind of reminds me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or The Hills Have Eyes, that sort of vibe. Wrong Turn, except within the Resident Evil world. And I like that they're changing things and innovating and moving forward. It's not the Resident Evil that I grew up with, but they're evolving horror for me. So, and in video games. So I think they're heading in a good direction.
As I said, it was a love-hate relationship for me. I think the game was bad? No, I don't. But I've been invested in the Resident Evil lore and the franchise for so long that when they really went off the path on this one, with this weird setting and this weird, Sawyer-like family, I was just kind of let down. I'm so used to, tyrants and Umbrella, and when they're throwing all this different shit at me, I'm a creature of habit, and I was expecting more of the same, just in a different sort of fashion, and I really didn't get that. So it was a letdown for me in that sense.
I could understand that,
but the game was good for what it was. I'm also not particularly fond of first-person Resident Evil games. I have very bad memories of Resident Evil Survivor. So I don't have the fondest of memories of first-person Resident Evil games.
Well, thankfully, this particular game is one of their main titles. So at the very least, they put some effort into this one rather than one of the side games.
Technically it's a side game, but it's canon.
Oh, I know, but so are some of the other Resident Evil ones that you're just like, wow, did they even write a story to this one?
I don't think all of those are canon, though. Resident Evil Survivor, the first one, is canon. The main character was actually a friend of Leon's, and it's fucking weird.
Yeah, there's a few games that don't necessarily seem like they put a hell of a lot of effort into them versus the main ones that come out. I don't know. I never played Survivor personally, so I really don't know for sure. But a game like Resident Evil Outbreak, you could take it a little less serious than, say, Resident Evil 2 or 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. Well, I think the rumor is something's going to be announced on the 21st. Is that it? Or 23rd?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like.
One of those days, because it correlates to when Resident Evil 2 got released the first time.
Yeah, and we're quickly approaching the 20th anniversary. So I mean, it would perfectly make sense for them to surprise us and say, "Hey, guess what? We have a remake of Resident Evil 2, and it's either coming in whatever time, or they may even surprise us and release it that day." I mean, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but you know, they're keeping this one pretty close to the chest. So who knows what sort of approach they're going to do if it turns out they're remaking it or they remade it.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait a little bit longer and just hope that we get some news. We haven't gotten any news on the remake in quite a while.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be awesome to potentially have that experience again, especially redone.
So, moving on to this week's Pressure Rising segment.
This one's a doozy.
So, yesterday was the 70th birthday of the iconic, legendary, still working, and still alive John Carpenter, the master of horror himself. Now, what could get my pressure up so much on such a nice day? Well, Rotten Tomatoes took it upon themselves to not research if the man was still alive and tweeted out a happy birthday, but in a way to where they were pretty much alluding to the fact that he was dead. When in reality...
And had been for years, too.
Yes. When in reality, he was quite alive. Now, I understand the man is old. 70 years old. He's no spring chicken. But to not do a 5-second Google search to see if the man's still alive or dead is insulting to a man as iconic as John Carpenter.
Not to mention irresponsible.
Yeah, and it's insulting. Insulting. This guy gave us some of the greatest movies of all time. He gave us one of my all-time personal favorite movies, Big Trouble in Little China. So I was infuriated when I saw this.
I knew you were going to go off yesterday when I received a text message from you around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, showing me the tweet, and I was like, oh boy, I know where this is going to go.
So I decided I needed to, seeing this slight against a horror icon really, really angered me. And I decided to take it upon myself to dig deeper into this and to see if Rotten Tomatoes doesn't even know this man is alive, who else is under this impression? So I went to famousbirthdays.com, which basically, if you type in celebrity birthdays, that is the website that comes up. That is the top search result. So that is the go-to site for finding out when a celebrity's birthday is or whose birthday is today. Well, I went to celebrity's birthday. I've been there plenty of times before. I use it quite often. And I was curious to see where the legendary John Carpenter ranked. Because they have sort of like this little hierarchy ranking system to like the most current or most relevant or most well-known person whose birthday is today, they'll always be on the top. Well, he wasn't number one. I thought he would have been number one. I am a fool for thinking he would have been number one. I was like, oh, all right, he's not number one. Well, he's got to be in top 10. I mean, there's no way he's not in the top 10. He wasn't in the top 10. By the time I found him, I was ready to put my fist through a wall. All right? So, where was he? Well, he wasn't number one and he wasn't top 10. He had to be in the top 20s, right?
One would think.
Top 30s?
Maybe.
Top 40s?
Hopefully, at this point, goddamn.
No, he did not come in until the top 50s. Technically, top 50. Where in the top 50? Oh, maybe the lower end of the top 50? No. This motherfucker came in at number 47. 47. That means John Carpenter has been in the business since the early 60s. Came in at number 47. Who are the other 46 people above him? Well, I went through the list a couple times. I found 4 people I actually recognized. All right? And one of them was a football player. So, if that's not bad enough, all right? That's not bad enough. In the top 10 of birthdays for yesterday, there are 3 YouTube stars. If you combined their ages all together, they don't even reach 70. I think they reached 61. 3 people, 3 YouTube stars.
That's awful.
The number 1 birthday was an 11-year-old YouTube star I've never heard of. I haven't heard of almost 99% of YouTube stars, but an 11-year-old.
I beg to ask the question: if these lists are, aggregated that way to kind of like put focus on the new generation and put like they know what's hot right now amongst the kids. I sound so old saying that. And are they ranking these people this way so that it brings in those type of viewership? Is old Hollywood out the door? Does Hollywood chew you up and spit you out? And is that the reason why John Carpenter's forgotten? I don't know. We have to ask them, but it's curious.
I just don't get it. You're forgetting a living legend. I mean, this isn't like some indie director. I mean, this isn't Lloyd Kaufman, all right? This is John fucking Carpenter. And this is a dude who gave us Halloween, The Thing, The Fog, Big Trouble in Little China. I mean...
Escape from L.A. New York. Escape from... What's the town called? For the sequel?
No, the sequel was L.A.
Oh, I know that. The one that podcast, How Was This Made?
Well, they pitched Escape from Cleveland, because I think that would be...
Escape from Cleveland, that's right.
Yeah, so to not only insult the man by saying, we didn't even know he was still alive. Dude is still working. Dude is still touring. He does concert tours, all right? So to insult the man that way, and then this stupid celebrity birthday website to slight him. Now, I know. I wrote an article about this for Dead Entertainment. I know. It's fucking stupid for me to get mad about where this guy is ranked on a celebrity birthday website. I mean, how petty can I be? Now, I can be pretty fucking petty. I'm a passionate fan, all right? And I believe that icons deserve their fucking recognition. I mean, it took George Romero dying to get a well-deserved star on the Walk of Fame. The man fucking invented the zombie genre, and he had to die in order to get this honor? Are you fucking kidding me?
And it's an absolute shame that's what has to be, that's what has to take place in order for these people to get recognized. And they, their contributions to cinema as a whole, not just horror, are second to none. Like they might have some very obscure movies like Body Bags and, Prince of Darkness and shit like that, but at the end of the day, John Carpenter is responsible for Halloween. George Romero is responsible for zombies. Like, I get it if you're not a horror fan, but creating something that's a global phenomenon like zombies, a la The Walking Dead and such, they need to at least get their recognition one way or another. and it's unfair that they aren't being treated properly.
That's. I don't even know where else to go with this. It's just an insult. It's an insult to the legend, the living legend, and it's an insult to every goddamn horror fan walking this planet right now. I don't know how else to say it. Rotten Tomatoes should be fucking ashamed of themselves. This stupid birthday website needs to be burned to the ground. Listen, I go up to somebody. I go up to 10 people, all right, and I ask them, you know who John Carpenter is? Even if half of them say, no, the name doesn't sound familiar, I can name movies. Oh, you ever seen the movie Halloween, or Escape from New York, or The Thing, or Big Trouble in Little China? Yeah, I guarantee you the rest of them, at least one of them, or at least all of them are going to answer yes to at least one of those movies. I go up to those same 10 people and I ask them who this fucking 11-year-old YouTube star is. Yeah, I think if any of them said yes, I would probably kick them in the shin.
I don't blame you. I honestly don't blame you. When you told me there was a 11-year-old YouTube star on that as number one on the list, I was like, I can count on my hand how many YouTube stars I know their names, and majority of them I don't. I wish I didn't know their names. You know what I mean?
And it's getting ridiculous right now because it seems like every week one of these YouTube stars is doing something stupid, like this Logan Paul thing. Just to go on a quick tangent, I don't even know who this guy was. And then I saw all these things about how he went to the suicide forest in Japan and was, recording a dead body. And obviously, I do not condone that. Respect the dead. Otherwise, they're going to come back and bite you, literally. So
I only hope make life interesting.
So I had never even heard of this guy, let alone seen any of his videos. I happened to I was somewhere and one of his videos were playing, and I don't think I've met a douchier person or seen. I've never met him. If I met him, I'd probably be in jail right now for murder, or at least maiming, probably maiming. I have never seen a douchier subhuman in my entire life. There was a video of him where he goes around Japan, the streets of Japan, and just fucking terrorizes the people. He goes around with like dead fish in his hand and an octopus tentacle, and is like shoving it in people's faces. Then he goes, "Oh, I'm tired of this thing, of this stuff," and he puts both of them, a dead fish and an octopus tentacle, on the back of a taxi cab, and the taxi cab drives away. Doesn't even know it's there. Then he goes around dressed as a Pikachu, and he's throwing these big stuffed inflatable Pokeballs at random people on the streets. I swear to God, I was waiting for an angry Japanese person to whip out a katana and just slice his nutsack off.
Man, that's douchier than I thought. I mean, I've seen the video in question when it comes to the Suicide Forest, and that's booked because I'm very fascinated with the place. I've watched documentaries and read up like endlessly on it. But Jesus Christ, like hearing this other video of his, I think he's getting what he deserves as far as the backlash goes. Dude,
if that's not bad enough, this guy puts out songs and music, and he puts it on iTunes, and obviously you got to buy the song on iTunes, probably like $1. And he had put out like these Christmas songs. I think him and his brother put out these Christmas songs. And you know what these Christmas songs were? They were nothing but fucking advertisements and to plug their shit merchandise. That's all these songs were. That's all they sung about in these songs, were buying merchandise. And people bought the song to hear him sing about buying his merchandise. I swear to God, I have never met a fucking bigger piece of shit in my life, and people subscribe to this guy, and he makes money from that.
I'm thinking we're doing something wrong, like being these humble geeks that we are. In order to make money off this shit, we need to turn into huge douchebags, apparently.
Dude, listen, I will shove bamboo shoots under my fingernails before I ever turn into a piece of shit like that. What I'm doing right now on this channel, what I'm doing on my streaming channel, Live Deliciously in Game, I'm doing for me not to make money. I'm doing for me because I enjoy it, and I'm doing for people to meet people and to have some good conversations and to enjoy myself. A cheap, shameless plug, because now I am really pissed off and I need something to kind of calm me down a bit here. Go to my YouTube channel, find my current giveaway video, watch it, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the video, and you are entered in to win the giveaway I'm currently doing, which happens to be, again, another cheap plug, a Gray Matter Art Edward Scissorhands poster.
So that's what centers you, YouTube contests.
Yeah, me giving away shit for free.
I like it. Can I request a few things that you own, like your Thanos statue? If you want to give any of this stuff away to me, by all means.
Dude, I got noticed that my Thanos print is being shipped soon.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I still gotta finish paying it off, but
I'd imagine. Did you get it framed or?
yeah, oh yeah.
That's gonna be a beaut.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna look so nice next to my framed Alex Ross litho.
I hear you. I mean, they're both gorgeous prints, so looking forward to it. I guess art, like our conversation art, brings you right down.
Yeah. So yes, Gray Matter Art, Edward Scissorhands, beautiful, high quality, 24 by 36 print on high poster stock, high quality poster stock cardboard. I don't know when contest is going to end. Again, I would like to have at least 10 entrants. But if you're listening to this, go find my channel. It should be in the description for this video. If not, just go to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on like iTunes, I don't even know if we're on iTunes anymore, or if we ever got on iTunes.
We're in the process. Apple hates everybody, so it's quite a process, and that I kind of not gave up on, but it's in the back seat right now.
Yeah, so maybe we should take the podcast available on iTunes off of our streaming.
Well, I'm about to be like doing a lot of research into it because other things are going to be going on iTunes, so soon.
So yeah, find my channel somehow. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, my channel link is everywhere on my shit. So find it there, find the giveaway video, and just follow the directions, and you get a chance to win a very high quality Edward Scissorhands poster, brand new poster.
You keep talking, and I'll get the link into the chat.
All right, so. Now that I've come down a little bit, let's get into some geek and comic news. We haven't done that in the last week or so. So apparently, I had read something about this earlier. Tom Holland, the new actor who plays Spider-Man in Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming, is apparently now rumored to show up in the Venom movie. I had read this rumor earlier. I did not actually really read into it. But one of the guys from Collider Movie Talk is insisting that Spider-Man is going to be in Venom.
Not only that, but there are rumors floating around that Tom Holland has been on set for like the last 2 weeks. So that adds another interesting layer. I never bought the fact that they were going to do a Venom movie without Spider-Man or Peter Parker or anything like that. I always had it in the back of my head that one way or another he was going to cameo, whether it's at the beginning of the film, at the end, or, has to be called in to kind of do a team-up thing, a truce/team-up thing. Or just introduce the character altogether, because, just opening up the floodgates of Venom lore without Spider-Man is near impossible.
I'm wondering, now, if he's been on set for 2 weeks, it might be a little bit more than a cameo. But I'm wondering if, because this movie follows the Lethal Protector storyline, and I'm not going to get into that storyline. It's actually a really good arc. I would suggest tracking it down and reading it. But just to spoil a little part of it, basically Spider-Man and Venom come to terms and kind of form a truce to where they're not going to fight each other anymore. And Venom decides to leave New York and goes over to, I think, San Francisco.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
And then that's where this whole Lethal Protector arc takes place. So I'm wondering if Spider-Man is going to have a cameo, and it's basically just going to be like him and Venom. Maybe they already had their battle, and maybe they're going to save that for another movie, and it's going to be them coming to terms and coming to the truce, and Spider-Man sort of just kind of seeing Venom out of New York.
That'd be interesting, because that's the way the MCU kind of handled Spider-Man with the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, where they just dove into the stuff as if Spider-Man's been doing it for a little bit. You know, it bypassed all the origin story BS and everything like that. What I wonder, though, is if it might be the exact opposite of that. Maybe they retcon Venom's story a little bit and let it lean on this, this pharmaceutical experimentation type of company. Maybe they create Venom, or they're the ones that experiment with the symbiote. And as a result of all the carnage, no pun intended, that is going to be happening in San Francisco, maybe Spider-Man, feels it's a worthy enough cause to go check out what's happening with it, and maybe he helps take down the main villain by the end of it, or go after Venom himself.
If the thing is, Sony always talked about how this movie was going to be separate from the MCU, but it didn't make sense. How do you have a Venom universe without Spider-Man? It doesn't make any sense. So Spider-Man being in the movie and it tying it all together with the MCU makes perfect sense. I mean, it's actually the only thing that makes sense. Yeah,
definitely. And then one other thing real quick is, that Sony is going to want to eventually pit the two against each other. There's no way that they're going to make Venom a separate entity without at least a tease that they're going to eventually meet in a movie, whether they're friend or foe. So there was no way this was going to happen without Spider-Man in the film period.
Basically, the way I see this is if Spider-Man is in it, which I do think he is, and this movie is successful, it's well received, Hardy is a good Venom and everything, I see the next movie being Maximum Carnage.
With the rumors that Carnage is in the film, as it is, and possibly even the bad guy, do you think they're going to approach it in a way where Carnage wins, maybe, and they're forced to team up in the next Spider-Man movie?
I don't think Cletus is going to be the main villain when we already know about the other symbiotes that are going to be in it.
So you think there's a chance that he's going to be kind of like the tag, like the one that kind of leads and hints onto the next one.
Yeah, maybe he's kind of playing things closer to the vest, maybe in the shadows a little bit, maybe escapes, a la, like Megatron and like every fucking Transformer movie.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so, I mean, I could only hope Spider-Man is in it, and, it's well received, and as I said, if it is, I think the next one we're going to get is going to be Maximum Carnage.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely look forward to that. Mostly because I've always been fascinated with Carnage's character. I've always been interested in serial killers and maniacs and all sorts of things like that. And a lot of people aren't into the Carnage character because he's kind of like one-dimensional. He's a crazy guy who happens to get the symbiote. But I think that's such an interesting layer of character. You know, like the fact that he's completely uncontrollable as a human, and he's attached with this symbiote that makes him even more uncontrollable is nuts. And I think having a young Tom Holland go up against an enemy like that is just going to make for fine cinema.
Yeah, well, here's hoping. So, keeping with some more Marvel news, Fox is pushing the releases of New Mutants and Gambit. It's pushing them back while moving up Deadpool. I'm
curious if this is because of the Disney purchase.
Well, that's not official yet. That hasn't gone through yet.
Oh, I know it hasn't gone through yet, but for them to move a movie like New Mutants, which was supposed to come out in May, if I remember correctly, an entire year, it makes me wonder what their intentions are.
So I'm looking right now as to why they're being pushed back, or at least why they're rumoring they're being pushed back, or...
Well, the rumor that I know for the New Mutants is they are not exactly happy with the scariness of the New Mutants movie, and they want to go back and do a little reshooting to try to add some more horror elements to the movie. Based off of the trailers and the promotional posters and things like that, it seems like Fox is going pretty much balls to the wall with horror, mixing horror into the mutant world. But apparently studios weren't exactly satisfied with how much horror was in the original, shooting.
So, basically, they want more horror elements in it, and listen, I'm okay with that.
I'm very okay with it. I mean, I didn't expect this amount, like, based off the trailer, I didn't expect that much horror to begin with. And seeing that they're possibly going back to add more is, I mean, it's giving me the best of both worlds.
Also, apparently I'm reading that it's also pushed back because the New Mutants and Deadpool 2 would have been playing in theaters internationally at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want any conflict, especially within your own wheelhouse.
And Gambit, listen, if anyone's really ever expecting to see this Gambit movie, fucking just go stick your head in an oven and turn it on, please.
Gambit seems to be in as much production hell as Flashpoint. It just lost its director, Gore Verbinski, who is famous for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which, when he got added to Gambit, I was like, okay, now we're in safe hands. I don't have to worry about where Gambit's going to go. Yeah, I think it's going to be a real solid movie. It's going to be adventurous, and it's going to look nice, you know? And as much as a lot of people say otherwise, Channing Tatum isn't a bad actor. I think he would have really pulled the character off. But here we are, back to square one, without a director.
Honestly, I don't even fucking care. You know, I never wanted a Gambit movie. I don't know too many fans who also wanted a Gambit movie. Is he a cool character? Yeah, he's a cool character. He's a character we all remember from the 90s, cartoon show. Animated show. Again, I give two fucks about him being in a solo movie. Seriously, they already fucked him up once in Wolverine.
I think that was the shining performance in Wolverine, aside from Ryan Reynolds before they sewed his mouth shut. But let's not get into that movie because we'll have another a pressure rising segment this time with me.
So, yeah, New Mutants pushed back, Gambit pushed back indefinitely at this point. They keep fucking losing directors, writers, whatever. Nobody wants to work on that movie. And Deadpool gets moved up 2 weeks, which means it will open up about 2 weeks after Infinity War, which I still don't know if it's a good idea. But Deadpool is very popular, and fans like the first one very, very much, so the movie is going to do okay.
I think 2 weeks is all right, though, because Generally, people do most of their reviewing. The first week they'll see it a couple times, and it dwindles from there. The second week's always a big deal breaker, but there's always a giant drop off the second week. And I would think by the third week, when Deathpool Deadpool is rumored to be coming out, or confirmed to come out rather, I think it might be in a safe distance. At least for people that are already high on that superhero train, because of Infinity War, and with the word getting around that Deadpool is now part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, people are going to want to jump into that to see if there's any connection between the two already. I doubt there's going to be, but people are going to be excited and ready for more superhero movies. So I think it's not a terrible idea.
I've always had the idea of how do you bring Deadpool, a obviously very rated R and adult character, into the very PG-13 friendly MCU universe, and you do it the way only Deadpool could possibly do it. Obviously, Deadpool is a gag character, more or less, despite what some people might say, who breaks the fourth wall constantly. So, what you do is, you could easily have him stroll on to the set of any Marvel movie, and I think it'd be a really funny gag. He would come in and he would try to curse, and every time he would curse, it would get bleeped out. And then he would start making, comments about why the fuck is everything I'm saying getting fucking bleeped. And then eventually he would get really mad and then just leave the movie.
It would be awesome if they did that? Like, if they did that exactly how you just said, but the very, very, very end credit scene was Deadpool coming back on the screen and just saying fuck without it being bleeped.
Or
just to get the one, like, because every PG-13 movie is allowed at least one instance of the word fuck, and I think that would be a good way to use it.
Yeah, and he could make that self-aware joke.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Like, he could come on, he could be one of the post-credits teasers, and he's and just be like, you know what? Watch this entire movie, and I know it's PG-13, but we're allowed one fuck, and I didn't hear it. Oh. So did I just use up your one beep? And then just go back to it.
Yeah, I mean, the joke writes itself, man. I mean, with the character breaking the fourth wall, pretty much anything's possible.
So, yeah, I mean, those are easy ways, and you know what? That would please everybody. You don't have to have him be part of the Avengers or to be big a part of any movie. You give him a fucking 60 to 90 second walk-on cameo like that where he's just fucking around, that's it. Or you have him, just goofing off in the background of scenes in some movies.
Honestly, he could basically be the second Stan Lee type cameo. That's all he needs. Like imagine Thanos and the Avengers fighting in the street, and the camera pans over for a second, and Deadpool's eating a slice of pizza in the nearest pizza place. That's all they need.
That's even great right there. I can just imagine that scene, and then all of a sudden, all the time stops, and the camera just focuses on him, and he's just like, "Oh, hey, hi, audience. You're probably wondering why I am not helping the Avengers right now
because they didn't pay me."
Yeah, something like that.
Because he's a merc. He doesn't do jobs for free. Why is he going to help defeat a giant space alien when he's not being paid by any of the teams?
Basically, he could say something like, "Well, when I tried to check Mr. Tony Stark, Iron Man, his check, surprisingly, it bounced, and so they could only afford me up until now." And then he just walks off. Just something goofy like that.
Yeah, they're gonna have a lot of fun with him, I think. Just because I have a feeling that Kevin Feige knows perfectly how to use him, how to sprinkle him into these movies, and I think we're gonna have some great cameos down the road.
Yep. Here's hoping on that one as well. So moving on, more Marvel news is Jack Schaefer has been tapped to write a Black Widow solo movie. Now this is a movie fans have been crying for a while. And
like how nice you are about it, crying for it.
They have. They've been asking for it for a while. Do I think Black Widow is an interesting enough character to deserve a solo movie? I do. Especially if they go into, a prequel, before she joins SHIELD and everything. Her time in the Red Room and her time in Russia and all that, basically how she was, all the training she had to go through to become the Black Widow. Maybe some of her first espionage missions for Russia or whatever. Dive into her past when she was actually a villain, because in the comics she was a villain first. She had an awful costume, but that's okay. We don't need to have that costume. So I think it's a movie that could work, given the right script. Now, this Jack Schaefer guy, I'm not really familiar with his work. So I don't know if he's going to be able to handle it, but I think regardless, fans are going to be happy that this movie is finally happening.
I was just thinking about it right now. It would be great to direct that movie. Anthony and Joe Russo. The current directors of Avengers: Infinity War and Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Did I lose you?
Hey, oh, that's weird.
Hey.
My mic was acting funny. That was my fault.
Yeah, I thought I got disconnected.
Oh, I know what happened. I was like I thought I unmuted my mic, and I had my mute button upside down.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what do you think, the Russos? Even though it's rumored that they're not coming back.
Those motherfuckers, they got enough on their goddamn plate. They'll throw something more on their plate.
I know. I just love what they did with the previous movies.
Don't do that to them. Let them make their magic and then ride off into the sunset. And then let somebody new come on.
Well, fine.
All right, moving on. So if you like solo female superhero movies, you'll be also happy to know that apparently a Kitty Pryde solo film is being developed.
Not a lot about it currently.
Ellen
I'm
Page?
curious. That's what I was just about to ask. Do you think Ellen Page is going to be coming back for it?
If she's not, then I lose all interest in the movie.
I've always enjoyed the character of Kitty Pryde growing up. I haven't been as well versed in the continuity because of how I grew up with comic books.
She bangs Colossus.
Oh yeah, that's fine. But in any case, I always enjoyed the character quite a bit, and what made me enjoy the character even more was Ellen Page's, the way she performed the character.
Yeah, in the comics, she's big into that Russian Colossus dick. So
that's one way to put it. I mean, he is Steel, so do you really blame her?
No, he's not Steel. He's osmium.
Whatever.
Geeking out over here.
Marvel with their made-up metals.
I actually don't think it's made up. I actually think it's a real metal.
Fair enough. Prove me wrong twice.
No. I'm not proving you wrong right now. I
honestly don't know. I'm not a metal guy. I know horror movies. I know comic book movies. I don't know rare or any sorts of metals.
Yeah, no, it is real. Osmium.
Well, fair enough. The more you know.
Atomic number 76 is hard, brittle, and bluish-white transition metal in the platinum group.
I'm just so used to the other metals in the comic books being a little bit on the fake side, so I took a shot in the dark there.
Nope. See, guys, when you tune in here, you learn shit. Osmium is what Colossus is made of, or what he can turn into, and it is real.
And Shadowcat, aka Kitty Pryde, loves it.
Gobbles it up.
Moving along.
You know, we could get into some really horrible but funny conversations about them too.
Oh, I'm sure, but I don't want to edit out 50 minutes of an episode again.
All right, let me.
Here we go.
No. I'm just gonna put this out here for you guys. All right.
I'm watching our viewership go down as we speak.
No. It's gonna rise after this. I mean, this is some next level shit right here.
So you're gonna say our viewership's going to erect?
Yeah, that's one way to put it. All right, so all right, real talk here for a second, guys. Real talk about Colossus and Shadowcat. If let's say Colossus in his human form, right? Let's say Kitty is deep throating him. Would she die if he turned to metal while his thing is plunged deep down in her throat?
She might need new teeth.
Think about that. Would the metal expand enough to where her throat ruptures and she's dead?
Dude, we are majorly pulling a Brody moment from Mallrats. Like when he's talking to Stan Lee about, he's like, you know, Mr. Fantastic, does every part of him stretch? Oh, God.
So yeah, food for thought, guys. Think about that. But maybe she'll be quick enough that she'll see him turning, that she can phase through it.
That's a genius, a genius point.
That's what I'm here for, guys. All right, we are moving on after that. I am not sticking on this subject because I could talk about this longer than any human should.
Like all the other episodes that we promising one day we'll have a episode entirely dedicated to superhero sex organs, but not today.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi was pulled completely from Chinese cinemas because the Chinese people don't really like it that much. Boo-hoo.
They don't know it. That's the problem. It did very poorly over there, and a few of the producers basically said the reason it did so poorly is because the films basically, their bread and butter are the people like us who are very nostalgic about those movies.
I don't give two shit. Oh my god, so it got pulled from China. The movie's only made, what, 1.3 billion? Oh, fucking boo-hoo. And there's a lot of fanboys, upset about it, and then there's a lot of haters of the movie who are just like, yeah, it got pulled. Look at that. It's not doing so good.
I think it's so misguided, the hatred toward the whole Chinese pulling of the movie. Like, it almost feels like these short-sighted haters are using it as fuel to gas up their argument that Last Jedi is completely terrible, blah, blah, blah. And that's not the case. It's just that the original films, the original George Lucas, George Romero, I could only imagine how that would have went. The original George Lucas films were not released in China, nor were the prequels. So how do you excite a whole nation of people that aren't as nostalgic to Star Wars as we are?
Guess what? I consider it a win. The movie. Now, China is like the biggest international market, right? And this movie, as I said, is probably at around 1.3 billion right now, without much help from China. I consider that a win. You guys, well, a lot of other people consider it a loss. I say, fuck you, go suck a lemon. It's a win in my book.
I'm sure the producers would have loved for it to have a huge opening in China, but it is what it is. It's still made roughly, I want to say, I don't even know, I don't have the site up. Like 30 million? Probably a little bit more than that.
Yeah, so it did about a third of what it should have done in China. You know, any Marvel movie would have done around 90 to 110.
Exactly, and all in all, it's $30 million we're talking about. They could take all 30 million of those dollars and wipe their tears with it, on top of the ones that they have for the 1 point how much billion?
Um, I don't know. As I said, it's got to be about 1.3.
That's quite a bit of money. It might not be projected at what they hoped, but it's not anything to cry about.
1.27.
Fair enough. It's very close.
Yeah, boo fucking who. Alright, yeah. I am not going to sit here and dwell on it not doing well in China. As I said, it's still a win in my book. The movie's still at almost 1.3 billion. You're going to hate on it. That's fine. Hate on it. Don't fucking, get all excited because it didn't do well in China. As I said, go suck a lemon. So, our final piece of geek and comic news is something that makes me excited for justice, I must say.
This one's all you, brother.
Oh, it certainly is. I have been a fan of this character since I first heard about him and watched his TV show, his animated show back in the 90s. The Amazon original series, The Tick, has been renewed for Season 2, and we haven't even gotten the second half of Season 1 yet, which comes out in February. I don't know how else to explain how happy I am about this. Just if you have Amazon Prime and you have not watched the first half of Season 1 of The Tick, yeah, go watch it. It really... Now, this is the second attempt at a live-action Tick show, and the first one did not go so well. This one does everything that the other one did wrong and does it right, and then it captures the goofiness of the animated show perfectly. I mean, like, this guy is the Tick. The actor playing the Tick is the Tick. He is everything that the Tick was in the shows and in the original comics. And it's just getting better. Jackie Earle Haley as the Terror is unbelievable. He's hilarious, and it's just... Put it like this, guys. If you're not really overly familiar with the Tick, maybe you're familiar with the Venture Brothers. This show is almost a live-action Venture Brothers with how over the top and ridiculous the superhero characters and the villains are. That's the best way for me to explain what this version of the Tick is. It is live action Venture Brothers. So getting another season already, getting that announcement is just absolutely amazing. I cannot wait. The show is so good. It is so much fun. I binge watched it. The episodes are only 30 minutes each, so it's not like a Netflix Marvel show where they're an hour each. So you can get through the first half of season 1 in like 2.5 hours. I think it's 6 episodes. So
when's the second half?
February 23rd.
Nice, not bad.
Yes, February 23rd. And that will be the second half of season 1. That will wrap it up. I don't even know what I can even hope to see in season 2. I mean, right now we've gotten some really, really great characters. Some original characters, some not original, but obviously the Terror is a great villain. I personally hoping in season 2 for Chairface Chippendale. He was always a ridiculous fucking character. Obviously the Tick and Arthur are great. I would love to see some of the other characters from the animated TV show, American Made and Captain Liberty, Batmanuel, especially Batmanuel, and
I love that name.
Batmanuel and the Fledermaus are definitely two of my favorite other characters in the show. So I'm definitely hoping to see them.
You had my interest when you said Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah, he plays.
You should have led with that when you were trying to get me to watch it the last time.
Yeah, he plays the villain in this season, named the Terror, and he's fucking ridiculous. I don't even know how else to explain him. He's just a ridiculous character. He was a ridiculous character in the in like the comics and stuff, and he's like stupid crazy old, but he's hilarious in this show.
Right on. I might have to give it a shot, to be perfectly honest. Like, I never got into the original series, and I think I've watched some of the animated stuff, but I don't know. It never really settled in with me.
Then I think this would be a good way for you to be introduced into the characters, into the series. I think you would love the characters of Overkill and his partner Danger Boat, which is this giant boat that has like this ridiculous AI attached to it.
Good lord.
As I said, basically, this show is live action Venture Brothers to a T.
Well, maybe I'll give it a shot within the next few days and report back next week.
Yes, as 30-minute episodes. Do yourself a favor. At least watch the first 2.
Will do.
All right, guys. So, capping off this week is our main discussion, our headliner for the night, and it is a topic we touched up on it very briefly in one of the episodes of MBH, which obviously aren't up yet. But Mungus thought it would have been something good to kind of touch on here tonight.
Yeah, being that we're more horror based on this channel, I think it would be a little bit more fitting that we dove into it on here and talked a little more at length than we did on the episode of MBH.
So the topic, basically, we were discussing on MBH the Halloween.
The recent casting news, no?
We talked about casting. Oh, well, we talked about what's his name? Who was the person who recently got cast?
I don't have my show notes from the episode, to be perfectly honest.
But no, we were just kind of discussing the new Halloween sequel, and what we kind of wanted from it and what we were expecting from it and everything. And I had brought up a problem I already saw with this movie. Now, how I led into it was, if I remember correctly, was we were talking about how this Halloween sequel is obviously disregarding Halloween 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. None of those movies happened. The only movie that happened in this new timeline they're creating is the original 1978 Halloween movie. And basically everything after that didn't happen. And they also are sort of rewriting, altering, retconning the ending of that movie. Now,
which we don't exactly know where they're going to go with that yet, but we have an idea.
So it's like, all right, so you're erasing a lot of bad Halloween movies, but you're also erasing, some good aspects of the older Halloween movies. You know, Halloween 2 was a direct continuation of Halloween 1. And what, you know, and I like Halloween 2. I thought Halloween 2 was a good movie. Now, obviously, most of the Halloween movies afterwards, aside from 3 is amazing. Most of them are not very good. But they all, almost all anyway, share something in common that makes them enjoyable. And that is the inclusion of Donald Pleasence. Donald Pleasence was a character in pretty much every Halloween movie up until he died in Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. So basically what you're doing is you're erasing a legacy and history of the Dr. Loomis character, but more importantly, you're just omitting Donald Pleasence.
I mean, he still exists in the first one, but I think what gave us such a love and passion for the character was he was the thread that bound together all the sequels, bad or good. He was the guy that made sure that they were all connected in that sort of way. He was kind of the guy that we were. We saw the events that happened with Michael Myers and everything else through his eyes, because that was the main character that we were following throughout the series.
He also seems to have been like the only one that could at least sort of wrangle Michael a little bit here and there. He kind of could, you know, at least calm him down for moments at a time to at least attempt to get through to him on some level. I mean,
I completely agree.
That's a powerful trait to have for a character that you're now completely omitting.
Yeah, we don't know for sure if they're going to omit him. Obviously, he cannot reprise his role because he's no longer with us, but we don't know. Like, we're not exactly sure yet if they're going to be recasting or something. You know, are they going to write him out completely? That's the option that's more than likely, but damn, like, it makes you wonder what the intent is here, because, you know, like, he's just as important as Michael Myers is to the story.
And, you know, even more so, especially when you look at the Rob Zombie Halloween films. Now, they had a wonderful casting choice in Malcolm McDowell, who can do anything you ask him to do. But, in my opinion, the writing for his character, his portrayal, the writing for his particular portrayal of Dr. Sam Loomis was not good. It was bad. It was really, really bad. They turned a powerful, emotional, and what's the word? Gripping character into a sort of a bumbling sellout who sort of comes into his own at the end of the movie, but it really also seems like it's because maybe he's going to have a guilty conscience if he leaves. That's not Dr. Loomis. Dr. Loomis was always completely selfless from the moment he heard Michael Myers escaped. He made it his goal and his life's work at that point to try to help and save as many people as possible and to find and kill Myers.
I don't even know if it was to kill necessarily, because he was very empathetic in the very early parts of the movie. You know, he had even said that he had worked with Myers for many years previously to try to reach him, and it shows that he had a real passion for the individual. He saw that there was some good in him that he was trying to pull out, despite him saying he had the blackest eyes, he was pure evil, and everything like that. No doctor would work with a patient that long to try to reach them or try to snap them out of it if he didn't care. And I think that was one thing that was completely missing from Rob Zombie's, portrayal. The way he wrote the character, he kind of made Loomis into this. He was kind of short-tempered, very easily frustrated. He he said the same things as the original Dr. Loomis by saying, "Oh, I worked with him for so long, blah blah blah." But by the midway point of the movie or the end of the movie, like you could tell that he didn't give two shits. He only cared about saving people by the end of the movie, and that's why he came out of quote unquote retirement, and all that.
Yeah, it was just the delivery really didn't fit the Loomis character, in my opinion. Again, I love Malcolm McDowell. I love everything the guy is in. But this was just a miss, in my opinion. And again, that's not necessarily on him. I believe it was a writing and the way his character happened to be written for Halloween 1. And I don't even remember. Was he in Halloween 2?
Yeah, he was.
I don't even remember. That's how much I enjoyed that film.
Yeah, I've only watched it once.
So when you actively erase a legacy of Sam Loomis from, he was in 1, he was obviously in 6, he was in 5, was he in 4 as well?
Yeah.
Alright, so he was in 2, 4, 5, and 6. You're erasing him from 4 movies. 4 movies. Now,
it makes the character less impactful.
Yes. Now, 4 is not that great of a movie, and 5, not that great of a movie, despite what AMC might try to tell you, because they play those movies constantly.
Those movies have moments and character development that helps us appreciate the characters throughout the years, but overall, very poor movies. They have good elements to them, but that's about it.
Daniel Harris, good element.
Big example.
And Donald Pleasence, Sam Loomis character. That character really brightened up and fixed an overall bad movie in every scene he was in those bad movies. He made bad movies watchable because he was in said bad movies. When you have a character like that, it's kind of, I don't want to say insulting, but it's kind of a rough thing to do, to just completely omit him. No, not completely omit him. Obviously, he was still part of the first movie, but I just don't know if I agree with that decision. Now, it's a torn feeling within me, because I like the idea of them disregarding previous entries and kind of skewing the timeline. So instead of the timeline going as it normally would, just straight across, it's starting where it normally was, and then they're kind of branching off into a secondary timeline. And I like that idea. That's obviously the idea I had for my Friday the 13th movie that I read during the special Friday the 13th episode on my channel. So I'm all for that kind of idea. Do I think they should have omitted part 2? No. And if they left part 2 in, that would have been a second movie with Donald Pleasence, and I think I would have been a lot less bothered at this point. Because then you're just getting rid of 4, 5, and 6, and those are just movies I don't care about very much. So, basically, what I'm trying to say is, the idea is good, what they're trying to do with the movie, but there's a casualty of war.
I think a lot of that hinges on which direction they end up taking with this retconning of the ending of the original. If they choose to make him dead and come back as this supernatural type being, which I don't think they're going to, it would make sense that Loomis moved on with his life because Myers was presumably dead. They may just cut off the missing body part of it. You know what I mean? If they go a different route where he's missing, just as the original movie ended, it's going to take away a lot of lore and history and, frankly, just, the things that we saw in that character because of the lack of history that's no longer present in canon.
Yeah, and I am still excited for the film. It's I am hoping for the best. And when I'm watching it, I will be thinking of Donald Pleasence the entire time.
I will say this. If Donald Pleasence was still with us, I don't doubt it in my mind for 1 second that we wouldn't have taken a trip to a nursing home or something like that to visit the long-retired Sam Loomis. But unfortunately, he passed in 95, I think.
Yeah, he passed quite a while ago.
Yeah, so, that's just not impossible. And unfortunately, to really put out their idea and what they have envisioned to reboot this series, they're going to have to sadly move on without him. And it's, like you said earlier, a casualty of war. But the one good thing is it's just canon. It's not like there's a real Michael Myers legacy or anything like that. We still have the films. We still have the films that he's in it.
You live? Alright, lost Mungus there again. But he pretty much was, got his point across there. Yeah, I don't think they're going to trounce on his legacy. At the end of the day, I do think they're going to do right by him. And they're going to give the Sam Lewis character, at least they better give the character some type of send-off. Obviously, we're not going to see the send-off, but to have them talk about it is necessary in my opinion. You're cutting the guy out from 4 other movies. Give him some sort of send-off. I don't care how you do it, but make note of him, mention him, and explain to the fans what happened to him in this new timeline. Do that, and I'll be content.
Hello?
Yes, there you go. You have returned.
I'm stupid hiccup on my internet.
Yeah, so I was just wrapping up that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because you were pretty. It sounded like you were pretty much finished with your thought on it when you cut out.
I mean, the overall point that I wanted to make was, if he was still alive, I am sure that he would have been in it.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the main thing. Unfortunately, they have to work with what they have to get their idea across.
Yeah, and zombie Donald Pleasence. While I'm all for it, I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't think so either.
Alright, so that is going to wrap it up for us this week. Let's see, what did we clock? Oh, we clocked in a lot later than I thought. I didn't even realize it.
It's about average.
Alright, so let's do a quick wrap up here. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us for another 2.5 hours tonight. I don't know where the fuck the time goes.
And it does.
If you liked what you heard, rather, please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. You can follow us on Twitter at WayOfLifeNet and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/WayOfLifeNet. And I would say keep a lookout for us on iTunes, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But maybe we can possibly get on Stitcher. That would be kind of cool. I like Stitcher. I have a Stitcher Premium membership. I pay for my Stitcher. So it is a platform that I really like. There's a lot of great podcasts on it. I'm doing a fucking plug for Stitcher right now. I don't know why. They don't pay me. But I like Stitcher.
They should, though.
Yes, I mean, because that Yankee Candle money hasn't come in yet.
Honestly, I think we lost the Yankee Candle after the whole rant earlier.
But
especially the superhero sex thing.
Listen, that was a pertinent question in comic book history. I mean, minds want to know. So, yes, I pay for my Stitcher Premium subscription. It gives me access to backlogs of a lot of great podcasts that I like, including How Did This Get Made, and it gives me access to the mini episodes of Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast now, which used to be available for free, but since they moved to Stitcher, they are now premium-only episodes. It's actually why I bought premium, just for those episodes. So yes, maybe we can get on Stitcher. I mean, Monster Mania Podcast is on Stitcher. I think we can get on Stitcher.
So I think what he's trying to say here is, Ray, get to work. Don't worry, I will.
Sure, if you want to take it that way. I actually wasn't even alluding to that, but there you go. So, shout-outs for this week. I got to shout out my buddy Tartalov, as usual, but more so this week because on Monday I was on live with him on his Twitch channel, and we were doing a big horror discussion. It was about an hour and a half or 2 hours or so. It was actually a lot of fun. I was hanging out with him on stream and with his subscribers and his viewers. We talked about a lot of cool stuff, and it kind of got a little history on how I got into horror. So definitely go back and check that out. I think he has it up on YouTube now. And that's Tardulov. That's TARDULV. And yeah, that is my Swedish streaming buddy. So check out his stuff. He streams on Twitch, even though I don't support Twitch. Twitch can suck a dick. I do support him, so he is actually the only person I watch on Twitch.
You should try to get him like in line with us to do an episode together.
You know, I want to, but you gotta remember the dude's in Sweden. Like right now, it's probably like 4 in the morning for him.
Suck it up. I see 4 in the morning every day.
I mean, I'll ask him. If anything, maybe we could try to either do a later episode to where maybe he's just waking up, or a earlier episode to where maybe he's not in bed yet. I'll try to work something out and see what times would work for him, because I think he would be a great repeat guest for the show.
I have a couple ideas. We'll talk after the show, but I think we could definitely get him on. I popped in for a little bit of that stream, but on the day that you did it, I had a huge migraine, and I couldn't take listening or looking at anything. So, but what I heard, I think you guys were talking about Stephen King.
Yes.
And Stephen King's movies and everything. From what I heard, it was a great episode. I'm going to be definitely going back to the YouTube channel and give it a listen myself. But I'm excited to talk to somebody that's in a different country, because like we share that bond in horror, and it's interesting to see a different perspective, you know, from somebody that's grown up in a different environment than us, you know, and how our difference in taste might be.
Exactly. That's why I was excited to do it. So yeah, definitely go check out his stuff. Go check out the podcast I did with him. Shout outs to, obviously, you know, Monster Mania, Dave at Monster Mania, for continuing to put on great shows year after year. We can't wait to bring you guys some coverage from the convention. As I said earlier in the show, 2.5 hours ago, we have a lot of plans for this March's convention, and it is definitely going to be the busiest we've ever been at one of these conventions, rather than just spending money and getting drunk. We'll be spending money, getting drunk, and recording. So, yeah.
Which isn't bad. At least we don't lose too much from it.
I plan on also having, like, maybe cameras and mics going while we're just hanging out in the room, just bullshitting. I might bring down last Friday the board game, and I might record us trying to figure out how to play that fucking thing. So I got ideas for this convention, and I'm hoping that it pans out, and it should be probably one of the funnest conventions we've ever been to. Also going to shout out, as usual, my buddies over at Gray Matter Art. As I said, my giveaway on Live Deliciously in Game. Go find the video. Go do it. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and you could win a beautiful 24x36 beautiful Edward Scissorhands poster. I like it. I'm not going to frame it and hang it up, which means you guys get a crack at it. The winner when it is announced, the poster will be shipped in a proper poster tube, so don't worry about any damage. Ain't gonna happen on my watch, guys. So yes, Gray Matter art. Fright Rags. Always shout out Fright Rags. Their new Child's Play collection dropped today, so if you got a hankering for some Chucky apparel in your life, yeah, go check them out right now, because they just dropped 4 new shirts, some new enamel pins, some socks, all kinds of good stuff. My buddy Mad Eye Yokai over on YouTube, he's always putting up some goofy horror videos that relate to the Friday the 13th game. They're always good watches, and definitely worth a subscribe, and throw your notifications on so you know when he posts up new shit. Definitely worth it, in my opinion. And then obviously just all the people I follow on Twitter, all the horror people I follow on Twitter, Jonathan Barkin and John Squires, Freddy in Space. Basically, if you follow me on Twitter, it's all the people I retweet. Go follow them. That's going to do it for me on shoutouts.
Yeah, by the time I'm done writing these episodes, my brain is so fried that I don't even know where to go when it comes to shoutouts, and you usually cover most of the things that I'm most passionate about. So this week, I don't have shoutouts per se, but I have a couple small announcements. It's mostly Dead Entertainment related, so bear with me. Dead Entertainment, our horror site that Bates and I write for, and I work on social media and do all sorts of crazy shit. We launched our Instagram page just recently and finally got it going. So if you follow any of our other accounts for Dead Entertainment, you've probably been seeing some of the pictures that I've been posting. But we want you to go and follow the account. So go to Instagram.com/deadentertainment and follow us. We post the stories that we post on the website, via that medium. So you're not going to miss out on anything that's related to the website. Plus, we post a lot of other cool shit. So definitely go and follow that. A small light announcement. Bates and I are currently working out the details about doing another podcast, but Dead Entertainment related. So it'll be the official Dead Entertainment podcast where we do some things very similar to what we do here, but we're gonna switch it up a little bit to change things and keep it fresh and interesting.
He's trying to kill me.
I'm also trying to kill me.
Yeah, he's seriously just trying to kill me and wear me out. He forgets that I work 5 to 6 days a week.
Exactly. And the sooner that he is dead, I'm able to take over the empire for myself. So, anyways, we're gonna make
ain't worth shit.
Exactly. So we're gonna make it interesting, and just keep an eye out for that stuff. And lastly, I wanted to. This is the last Dead Entertainment announcement. We are looking for writers. Like Bates and I write. We have 3 or 4 other writers currently, but we want people that are interested in working for peanuts or nothing or imaginary peanuts. But people that are that may not necessarily have a platform to really, spread their love for horror. If you want to report news, you want to write reviews, you want to attend the fucking wax museum that's horror related and report on it. Anything. We're very interested in adding your work to our website and try to get it promoted along with the other pieces that we do all the time. So if you're interested in writing possibly for deadentertainment.com, go to that website, find the little contact thing, and get in touch with us, and we'll get back to you within a few hours more than likely, but give it a day or so. And that's pretty much it for me.
All right, guys. Also, remember, if you're listening here, you can. I always think I didn't unmute myself. Then I realized I did.
Hear you.
You can always, if you're listening, make sure you're following us over on Twitter, The Way of Life Net, and then personal Twitters at Bates_Motel MT. And for Mungus, it is just at Ray Mungus, MUNGUS, Mungus. And I guess you can follow our other 2 MBH people, but Yeah, they don't tweet that often.
Exactly. But I mean, you want to check out some of their stuff. Sorry, I lost. You can follow Doom Machine 7784 or at UFWebzine. Or if you're a metalhead, check out truemetal.org/unstoppableforce.
Yeah, so I think that is going to wrap it up for us tonight. Got anything else to add before we wrap up?
See you next week.
All right, short and sweet, to the point. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in. And remember,
What do you think this is all about? What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.